explore the rural life in Jamul, California, one of San Diego County's hidden gems. Unlike most of San Diego, Jamul offers that rural lifestyle, that quiet, peaceful setting, larger parcels. It's just kind of a different laid-back environment. In Jamul, days are typically quieter, nature is always nearby, and the community is strong. But what does living in Jamul really mean? Well, we're gonna explore the daily life and see if Jamul's the right fit for you. One of the first things that you're gonna notice about Jamul is that it's really quiet. You don't have that hustle and bustle of traffic. You're gonna have the quiet sounds of birds and livestock, the occasional coyote. You're gonna see the scampering of rabbits across the roads, across the fields. And it's just really a way to escape from the hustle and bustle of the city. The natural beauty of Jamul is amazing. It's seasonal, so you're gonna get the wildflowers in the spring. We come into the summer, it changes. It becomes a dry environment through the rolling hills. In the fall, you're gonna get the pooly fog laying in the low highlands. And then in the winter, we're gonna get the rain and the occasional stream that's gonna come through Jamul. So really just a massive amount of natural amenities that exist in living that environment. Probably one of the best things that struck me with Jamul are the ever-changing sunsets. The sunsets are amazing. No two are the same. And it's just a beautiful landscape to provide a backdrop of where you might want to live. Now, Jamul has a small town feel. It's only about 6,000 people total that live there. The community is very small, but the parcels are actually a lot larger. The residents, they find different ways to stay connected, from the local post office to the farmer's market to even the local liquor store. The gas station is a hangout. There are few things to do in Jamul, but people have chosen that for a particular reason. There's really tight-knit relationships because people understand in that rural setting, you have to know what's going on in your community. You have parcels that are spread out further. Takes longer for first responders to get to those parcels based on the space between their locations and those residents. And so residents are much more aware of each other. Now, the daily life in Jamul is kind of interesting. Space is the biggest perk of Jamul. You have parcels that range from a half acre all the way to 5 acre minimums. On top of that, there are large parcels that exist out in Jamul. We recently represented a client that sold a 50 acre parcel. They were one home on a 50 acre agricultural land that their family had used for years for cattle. So most of them are large single family estate homes. Some of them you might have multi-acre ranches, and you might have barns or stables that exist on those ranches that were operating agriculture or operating livestock ranches back in the day. It gives you plenty of space for gardening, outdoor activities, and even room for your own livestock or horses or any type of farm animals that you might want to have right next to your residence. This is the reason that Jamul is actually really popular, and it's especially really popular with our senior community. They enjoy that quiet style of living and being able to have their own domain. Jamul provides the avenue to live fully off the grid, from propane as a gas source to septic tanks. On top of that, now with the advent of solar panels and batteries, even windmills out there can even have a well in Jamul. Based on its terrain, there's a tremendous amount of sand that exists there and natural cavity of underground streams to be able to be tapped in that Jamul community. Well, with all the charms and being able to have that quiet lifestyle, it does come with some drawbacks. So let's kind of go through a few of those things to see what you can see on the other side of what living in a rural type community like that presents. Jamul is largely undeveloped, and so there's not a lot of resources at your disposal. The closest massive shopping center or anything of that nature for the Jamul residents is a good 20 minutes back into town. Now, that being said, that also comes with all of the medical resources or anything of that nature that you would need to be able to survive in an accident or things of that nature. So to be able to drive 20 minutes back into Rancho San Diego, to be able to have the services and first response type systems at your disposal, medical treatment, that actually is a drawback for some people, and especially our senior community living out in that rural area of Jamul. But that is the trade-off of living in that quiet space. You're just gonna have to plan more accordingly. I have friends that grew up and lived in Jamul and they loved it. They just had to know that no matter what, if we were headed somewhere, they had to plan accordingly because they were a minimum of 20 minutes further than Rancho San Diego, and then they had to plan for their drives on top of that. So just prepare ahead of time and know that living in that rural type community, that is going to be one of the Achilles heels of living in that setup. Now, if you love the outdoors, Jamul is a fantastic community for that. Obviously, there's Hollenbach Canyon Wildlife Center. There are miles and miles of hiking trails. There are even horseback trails that exist out in the Jamul community. The beautiful scenery. There's camps every single year. I would take my children. We would go out to the campgrounds in Jamul. Just a great setting right in the canyons below the hill, and be able to enjoy where you're not too far out of town, but super close. And there's just plenty of other outdoor activities out there in Jamul. Horses are very common, so it's not unusual to go out on a trail and see someone on a horseback ride as well. There's plenty of offerings for any of the horseback lovers that are in our community, as Jamul fully supports and has plenty of avenues of natural riding trails. Now, Jamul is mostly residential. There's not really a whole lot of commercial, but one particular commercial industry has started to come into Jamul, and it might surprise a lot of people. The wine industry. So there's Granite Lion Cellars, there's Hillside Ranch Vineyards. There's just a couple vineyards that are part of Jamul's community and the ever-growing wine scene. These places will give you a taste of local life, yet you can enjoy the beautiful surroundings and have some fantastic tastings at the same time. So the challenges of this rural lifestyle, as you can kind of see, they are just putting peacefulness right up front and forcing you to have your conveniences further away. And that's really what rural living is. That 15 to 20 minute drive to come back into town, make a decision for someone that maybe thinks that Jamul might not be the right community. Another challenge is traffic for a commute. So if you do have to commute for work, adding that 20 minutes on, leaving earlier in the day, coming home later at night, these are 2-lane roads to coming in and out of Jamul. So for that reason, just adding that to your commute time can become frustrating. It's going to add another 35, 40 minutes to your commute. And if you're going all the way to downtown San Diego, that just might be too much for the average homeowner. So just understand that that could be difficult when it comes to commute time. Now, infrastructure can also be an issue. For years, we have struggled with internet service out in the Jamul community. That has drastically changed. Obviously, we have abilities with Starlink and different things of that nature. So things have changed dramatically to be able to promote that rural style living, and the ability to live off grid on top of that. With extreme weather, I will tell you though, this area is susceptible to fire. With its large parcels and rolling hills, the ability for a fire to roll through this community is obvious. And with that, because of that, SDG&E and the utility companies will shut off utility services in the area. Now, we have battery backup systems now. We have propane generators if you need to keep going. But there are a lot of other avenues that homeowners have prepared themselves for that rural style living that we probably didn't really have before. And I'm amazed all the time at how many clients have updated their homes. And there's even grant programs that allow you to have a battery backup system if you're in those fire-prone areas. So understand that emergency services are further away. And being that we're in these kind of rural communities, you have to plan ahead. One of the difficulties of living in that environment. But let's get back to the biggest appeal of living in a community like Jamul. You're living really in a small town feel with large ranch parcels. There's a variety of property types, which is really neat. All residential. Okay, yes, we do have some commercial wineries and cellars that are popping up here and there, but predominantly this community is all residential. From small homes to large estates, it's really just one ideal community that is very aware of each other. And I think that's what's so neat about growing up and living in that small type of community in Jamul. My very first home that I grew up in was in Jamul. So I have a lot of knowledge, and my dad built a number of properties out in Jamul. And it was a great community to grow up in. Yeah, to go to school or anything of that nature, we did have to travel. But at the same time, it was just a great space to grow up as a kid. I was always outdoors. There was plenty of activities, different things to do. And even as a parent, my children played soccer in Jamul. It was an amazing community. The kids, very friendly, enjoyed playing soccer with great fields, great facilities. The community really took care of its infrastructure, and that's what I really appreciated. So if you're looking for a community that's peaceful, enjoyable, quiet, you might want to take a look at Jamul. It might just be that community that you haven't found yet. So if you're looking for that slower pace of life, this is one of San Diego County's hidden gems. So if you enjoyed this video, you got any value out of it, hey, let me know down in the comments, and make sure you like and subscribe and hit that little bell. That way you get alerted for the next video that's going to come out on the next hidden gem in San Diego County.